Hi, my name is Nino Rabanibi Madangit. I am from BSIT DIT 27, and this is a awfully delayed video because I have no excuses. I cannot recover my file. I'm sorry, sir, for the late because I was busy with the other projects. Well, I have no more excuses anymore. I'm sorry for making this late. And anyway, hello, my name is Nino Rabanibi Madangit, and today we're gonna be learning the art application to our course. Generally, it asked if is art relevant to our course. Well, yes, and I think the strongest proof is origami. Now, what is origami? So, from Oxford Dictionary, origami, noun, is a Japanese art of folding paper into decorative shapes and figures. Well, to explain origami is that origami is also paper folding, the art of folding objects out of paper to create both two-dimensional and three-dimensional subjects or objects. Now, that alone should ring any bells why art in general is relevant to our course. Well, not singing, not dancing, that's more of a personal type of thing, so you can have something else to do. But origami itself, it opens the mind because it uses math, it uses science, and it uses physics to create something beautiful. It's basically balancing out the base to the final format, and it's pretty scientific. And the fact that multiple usage over the time that origami's been used in multiple ways in science, physics, and engineering, origami is abundantly used. For one example, here we have engineering with origami.
Engineers are turning to origami for inspiration for all types of applications, from medical devices to space applications, and even stopping bullets.
Alright, so this alone, from folding a wall up, takes skill and proper coordination and proper maths to do. Origami as an art is very useful in this field because, one, it just made a wall out of a tiny space and it became a proper 90 degree by 90 degree wall on each side. Now let's continue. It is here that origami has been used in medical technology, devices, and space travel. How do you may ask? Space application, I'm sorry. Now, stopping bullets as well. It's a riot shield that you can place down like a video game in Overwatch or TF2. Anyway, let's continue.
But why is it that this ancient art of paper folding is so useful for modern engineering? Origami, literally folding paper, dates back at least 400 years in Japan, but the number of designs was limited.
Art style has been mastered, cultivated, and basically perfected for 400 years in Nippon Manju or Japan. Let's continue. You may question, why am I not just using my own research? Well, basically, my research just copies this unironically. Basically follows the same direction as this. Trust me, from medical researches to, interestingly, they didn't add here tense. That is interesting. I'll get back to that in a minute. Highlight here, because it's through time the artistry, the genius evolves with the art called origami. Now, how can we apply that to engineering, you may ask? Well, let's see. By the way, I am really sorry for the way I deliver myself. I am horribly sick, but I ain't letting that stop me. Everything's so warm. Anyway, let's continue. Keep in mind, there are so many reasons upon origami being relevant to engineering, medtech, all types of technology, and mechanical premise. Let's continue.
There were only a handful of patterns, maybe 100, 200 total in Japan. Nowadays, there are tens of thousands that have been documented, and most of that change happened in the 20th century. There were a handful of Japanese origami masters, and by far the most successful of them was a man named Akira Yoshizawa, who created thousands of new designs, wrote many, many books of his works, and his work inspired a
Akira Yoshizawa. Pretty lit.
worldwide renaissance of origami.
Okay, keep in mind here, this person named Robert Lang, he's an origami artist and mathematician. Artist and mathematician. Sorry, I'm losing my breath. Anyway, let's continue what he has to say.
Creativity. Well, I wanted to fold a cactus. The first thing one needed to do is figure out, how do I get spines on a cactus? So you can imagine, if I can make 2 spines here, I could do the same thing to make a whole row. Then I can go back, do a complete design. That's what this is.
Whoa.
And this is actually, the cactus and the pot are from a single sheet of paper. The paper's green on one side, red on the other.
That whole thing is a single
So this
sheet of
is
paper.
This is one uncut square of paper.
How big was that piece of paper?
And this is about a 1 meter square. So there is a huge amount of size reduction to go from a meter down to here. But you need that to get all of the spines.
And how long did that take to make?
That took about 7 years from start to finish.
Wow. Why is...
So far, we're exploring how the art cultivated. Let's skip to the interesting and relevant part of this video.
Origami, this thing that was created for aesthetics mainly, why is it so useful, I guess, is the question. For like, you know, structural things that were for mechanical engineering or for space applications, like, why does it find itself in so many of these applications? Why is it so useful?
Well, the thing that makes origami useful is it is a way of transforming a flat sheet into some other shape with relatively little processing.
Now, this example here is one of the medical ones where you have to do surgery, open heart surgery or delicate surgery in tiny things. Let's continue.
Does that turn into that?
That turns into that, yep. We're working with a company called Intuitive Surgical that does the Da Vinci surgical robot, where they wanted to be able to insert a flexible catheter with the robot, but the flexible catheters tend to buckle and stuff. So we had developed these this origami bellows that if you look down there, there's a hole that no matter how far we move this, that stays the same size on the inside. And what that means is we can put the catheter in there, and as the catheter moves and is getting inserted into the body, it still has supports along the way.
Notice that they used origami to provide support and unwavering length towards the project. Let's continue.
Or for another example,
Here, I have a foldable, bulletproof, collapsible wall.
it's based on the Yoshimura crease pattern.
Meaning, if I make this out of a bulletproof material, it can be very compact, be in a police officer's car, and deploy out and be bulletproof.
But would it actually work? Well, they've put it to the test. Using 12 layers of Kevlar, it can stop bullets from a handgun, and a new design featuring interchangeable panels should be able to stop rifle rounds.
Those in that vial, those are actually bullets that have been stopped by origami.
An intrinsic benefit of origami is that the simple act of folding a material can make it more rigid.
I was going to ask you about this.
Yeah.
More origami.
More origami.
Duh! But I was going to say it's a way of making the can stronger without actually, thinner metal, right?
But for engineering applications, the more common challenge is how to fold thick, rigid materials.
This is polypropylene, okay, very rigid. There's no way that I'm going to be able to fold that into this vertex. So this is an example that shows a couple things. Surrogate folds we can use to replace the creases, and then also that piece of polypropylene folds up and it also accommodates the thickness in there.
By cutting or scoring materials and adding hinges as necessary, thick, rigid materials can, in effect, be folded. This is useful, for example, in deploying solar panels.
This pattern is perhaps the granddaddy of deployable structures. It's called the Miura Ori. It's been used for solar arrays. In fact, it was one of the first patterns that flew on a space mission back in 1995. It was called the Space Flyer mission. As you see here, it all opens and closes in a single motion, and when it flattens, it's very thin and compact.
It's a fun pattern called the origami flasher.
Full bulletproof. Full bulletproof wall. Pretty genius. Pretty expanding now. Let's just skip to the space application. Right.
And you get this kind of interesting flasher motion.
This has been proposed as a design for satellite solar arrays, increasing compactness for launch and reliability in deployment. A new area for origami research is in improving the aerodynamics of freight locomotives.
The thing with freight locomotives is, they're just like bricks going down the track, so their aerodynamics are horrible. Ideally, I'd like to have a nose cone on the front of a freight locomotive to improve the aerodynamics, but you can't because they're like Lego blocks. They're hooked up anywhere along the train. You don't know if it's the first one or the second one or the third one. Here's a scaled prototype showing a pattern that we demonstrated on a freight locomotive. It folds up to be very flat, but then deploys out, and it turns out our computer models and wind tunnel testing show that this will save this one company multiple millions of dollars a year in diesel.
This is a violinist. It was one of my favorite mechanism designs because he fiddles if you pull his head.
Fantastic.
Functional motions of origami are inspiring new designs for devices, like compliant mechanisms that can complete full 360-degree rotations.
Unlike a traditional mechanisms with bearings or hinges, I can hook on a motor and I can get continuous revolution. I couldn't do that with a compliant mechanism. But it turns out no one bothered to tell the paper folders that, and created a continuously revolving compliant mechanism, which is called a kaleidocycle.
Origami motions are also being used in medical devices.
These would be, the creases in the paper, and we have here now forceps. And so what's nice about this is we could put this at a smaller scale, right, on the medical instrument that go into the body, but then can morph and become the gripper. So it would be a very small incision, but then go in and do some more complex tasks inside the body.
A variant of this mini gripper is now being used in robotic surgeries, replacing the previous mechanism and reducing the number of parts by 75%. The origami-inspired device is smaller, but with a wider range of motion.
Key term, the origami flasher. This is applied to solar panels on satellites or probes going out to space. no matter what it is, it will give us information of the unknown. Therefore, application. Woo! But that single thing alone proves that our application in art is justified, being in engineering, tech, and technology. My name is Nino Raboni B. Madangit. I am from BSIT DIT 27 BICT Shitas Mechanical Technology. ID number 411752. Thank you for watching.